Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and it's been a couple days since the latest balance patch, and I've gone through all my resources, HS Replay, Twitter, HearthstoneDecks.net, and even Nova's expertise to get 5 decks from both Standard and Wild that you can play and reasonably expect to climb with, whether it's getting Diamond for the first time, Gold, Bronze, Platinum, or even getting to Legend. And while Nova's here also, just to thank you guys, we had 52,000 subscribers. Look how thrilled she is. She is just ecstatic. And if you guys feel like I've earned your subscription, you want to join in, hit that sub button. But let's go into the 5 best decks from both Standard and Wild that you can expect to climb with. Starting off, we have Naga Priests. Yes, Priest is doing very well. HS Replay doesn't even look that way. It looks like one of the bottom classes, but Naga Priest performing very well at High Legend and across pretty much all ranks. And well, the deck is built around Serpent Wig. Serpent Wig is the big payoff card where you're basically constantly applying it to your minions, your Naga minions, and adding it back to your hand. And when you have cards like Murkwater Scribe and Radiant Elemental, well, they become 0 and you can keep buffing it, you snowball, and then you can eventually finish off with a big bless, make a giant minion, and kill your opponent. You even have mana cheat turns in here with like Priestess as well. Valish lets you, for every spell you have cast, refresh your mana, and you're still running School Teacher despite the nerf. It's still a good card in the deck as it's a Naga, and the effect is still really solid. So if you're looking for a Priest deck and a board-based deck, this deck can do very well. You just need to make sure you draw Serpent Wig. You got to mulligan pretty hard for it, but you can also try and find it with your Handmaiden, your Thrive in the Shadows. There's ways of finding it, but overall the deck does really live and die by Serpent Wig. Control is still a thing in Hearthstone. Control Shaman has been one of the more popular decks over the past 2 days. It is doing very well, and it's like a hybrid of like Murlocs, Snowfall Guardian. You have Brukan in here, which gives you a lot of burn. You have the new mini set card, Command of Neptulon, which just gives you insane board presence with the your rushers as well, the 5/4, and of course Clownfish, which is just absurd. You can bank Clownfish, like play it on 3 and then play a Mutinous later for 5 mana, and then you can of course repeat these effects with Brilliant Macaw, your Bolners, and just get value with Amalgam and Schooling. Schooling has surprisingly been a good card in Hearthstone. People wrote this one off, but it's a solid removal card, how you can buff up your Snowfall. It's just a solid deck, and it is doing very well across all ranks right now. Big Beast Hunter is another deck that's really excelling, doing very well, and it's all about cheating out giant beasts, and you can do that pretty early on with your Harpoon Gun, which dredges, and if one of your last cards happens to be a beast, it costs 3 less. So you get King Crush for like 6 mana, a Mountain Bear for dirt cheap, or a Hydrolodon. It's absolutely gross, but of course you can kind of manipulate that with Ajaran Saber, have it die, then Harpoon Gun, get your Saber for like 1 mana, and then maybe cheat out a big beast. You have the hero card in here as well with Tavish, and it's a really fun deck. It's a solid deck, and you even have like K9Otron in here, a new card, which can, if you hit one of these 1-drops, is great, but overall the dredge effect can be very powerful in this deck. Fel Demon Hunter hasn't gone anywhere. Fel DH is doing incredibly well, multiple variants, and I'm highlighting one from a friend of mine, Sizaklo, who says this build is absolutely great. And you now have Metamorphin. Metamorphin has slipped into the list because, well, this guy doesn't die to a Wild Paw Null anymore because it gets 4 health. It's a 3/4 for 1 mana with any Fel spell. You have some card drawn here with Spectral Sight. That's one of the new additions, and you also put Bone Glaive in here for extra damage. You don't run the whole Xylag cheat package anymore. You just run Xylag. Just a really good card. You still have Kurtrus, you still have Jace, and the deck is doing very well. And hell, you still run Battleworn Vanguard despite the fact it only has 1 health because, well, the effect is still really strong. And I can't say I can really highlight a Warrior deck, by the way, because, well, Warrior's doing pretty rough, and we might talk about that in a future video. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about Warrior. And lastly, a deck that's doing surprisingly well. I've seen Superior David do well with it, Habu Gabu, and I'm going to try it out myself pretty soon, and that's Big Spell Mage. Big Spell Mage with Drakefire Amulet, Rune of the Archmage. It's your big spells that you can recast with the Grey Sage Parrot, but the big tech in here, the really cool mana cheat tech, is Barbaric Sorceress, the Taunt Naga, and basically you only run these 2 big spells, and if you play this and your opponent has any cheap spells, you can get a Drakefire Amulet out for, or Rune out for dirt cheap, and your Parrot doesn't care about the discount. doesn't care, so you can recast these spells later. So there's some shenanigans with this deck. It seems to be doing pretty well. And then you have Deepwater Evoker in here that's guaranteed to give you 9 or 10 armor, as well as Belinda Stonehearth, which is also guaranteed to high roll. So I don't know if it's for real, but I wanted to highlight it here to give you guys something to try out if you're looking to be a little more ambitious, but people are having success with it. So maybe there is some validity to it. And for Wild, things haven't changed up much. Instead of playing your big shaman, you can now go back to playing Shudderwock Shaman, or I'm highlighting here a Reno Shaman from Reno Jackson. He did very well, getting like top 10 legend with this list. One of the tech cards in here for the Mine Rogues, by the way, Death Warden. Standard could use that. Death Rattles can't trigger, but it's kind of the same old, same old. You're trying to get your Shudderwock going with your infinite board freezes, just infinite Shudderwocks. You have Lotheb, you have Serenite Chain Gang, and even Lorekeeper Polekill in here to guarantee that you hit Shudderwock into Geppetto, which can get some really good stuff. A relatively expensive deck, but an efficient, a good one. If you have a lot of these cards, I gotta recommend Shudderwock, Reno Shudderwock Shaman. It's a very, very good deck. Pirate Rogue, still really solid. I'm seeing lists still running 7 mana Smite. I don't know if you want to cut that just for a cheaper pirate, just anything else potentially, but yeah, Pirate Rogue, still a really solid aggressive deck, still very popular. You're still gonna have great success. All you have to do, basically, draw your Swordfish, cheat out your Dread Corsair Fellwing, you got your Ship's Cannon and your Brigand turns. It's the usual thing. It's an aggressive deck, it's a good deck, and you'll have some success if you want to try it out. Even Lock is also still doing very well, where you cheat out your Molten Giants, your Mountain Giants, your Gold Shard Gnolls. You can cheat out your Gigafin with your Sea Devil Stinger, and even have some disruption here with like Cult Neophyte, Dirty Rat, Blade Master Okani. And yeah, you just play big stuff, and hopefully you can give it Wind Fury at some point and kill your opponent. Mech Mage is another very popular deck. Just thought I'd highlight a basic Mech Mage deck. I saw a list with a freaking broom in it. I put in Handsome Meccano instead, but honestly, you can put whatever mech or whatever card you really want. Basically, you want to draw out your Book of Specters, your Seafloor Gateway, get your Mech Warper Galvanizer going, and then just get insane damage through your Mecha Shark, or get some value with like a Gorilla Bot, your Colossal Minion. Very solid deck, also very hated. I know people really don't like Mecha Shark, but hey, if you play this and do really well with it, maybe they'll nerf it because it's performing well. And the last deck I will highlight for Wild is Cthulhu Druid. This is just before the balance patch, but I played it after, and it's still performing very well. It's a really fun deck. You basically can get a lot of Cthulhus with Solar Eclipse, Moonlit Guidance, and well, there's this whole new package in here with the Floop's Glorious Gloop, and you have Scales of Onyxia and Raid Boss, where you can gain insane mana back by trading, having all these minions come back. But if you don't have Gloop, because it's expensive, it's a legendary spell, you can kind of sub out maybe a couple of these cards for like a Spreading Plague, something like that. You don't have to have Gloop to make this deck work, but it's certainly a really cool addition to the deck. So there you go. 5 standard and wild decks you guys can try and climb with after the nerfs. Good luck on your climbs. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.